Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Simon, and today I'm doing an individual album review, which is something that I have not done in quite a few months at this point. And I'll explain later, probably at the end of this video, why this album's getting its own individual review. But I will say right now that Marina is one of those artists who I've been planning on doing a full discography deep dive on for a while now. Marina, formerly known as Marina and the Diamonds, which was the name that she released her first few albums under. And I will say, this year I've actually gotten into her music a little bit more. Now, back in my blog days, I did do a throwback review of 2012's Electra Heart, and one that I would change a lot about, like most of my earlier reviews, even though my overall feelings on that album remain at least somewhat similar. Now, I have listened to all of her albums at some point, and I am actually going to her concert very soon. I guess, yeah, it's less than a week from now. And I will probably revisit all of her albums right before the show. But so far, the ones that I'm most familiar with are her first two, which I consider to be quite strong, especially her debut, The Family Jewels. And also, there's the album before this one, 2021's Ancient Dreams in a Modern Land, the other album of hers that I'm quite familiar with. And honestly, for me, that is easily going to go down as one of my favorite pop albums of the 2020s. Honestly, one of my favorite albums of the 2020s, and a lock for my decade-end top 100 that I'm planning. Fingers crossed I don't cancel that list due to being overwhelmed. I really want to post that. And yeah, that album's basically a lock for that list. Now, Princess of Power was released quite a few months ago, and now I'm finally taking the time to listen to and review this album. And okay, before I get to talking about this album, there's something else I want to talk about. And I promise, it's relevant. Because I've been thinking a lot recently about whether or not I'm too mean or too harsh in my reviews. I mean, in terms of ratings, I often lean on the more positive side. But I do have to remember that every album I review was made by real people, and I don't want to discredit hard work that has gone into a project that just doesn't personally resonate with me. Now, on the other hand, I do think it can lead to more entertaining content when I really let my emotions show in my more negative reviews. And especially when I have high expectations for an album, that immature, childish part of me can show a little bit more than I'd like sometimes. So I think it's about finding a balance between those two sides of me as a critic. The one that wants to be nice, and the one that wants to completely tear an album to shreds when I'm not happy with it. And while music is a huge part of my life, and I think it's very easy to understate the importance of great albums both societally and in one's personal experience, the bad albums, well, they usually just end up being something we can ignore and just recognize it's not that big a deal. So all of this to say that with me talking about Princess of Power by Marina, my perspective on it is as a fan who loves Ancient Dreams in a Modern Land and has loved many other tracks from Marina's earlier days. And I'm going to advise you right now to not take my whining to mean more objectively than it does, because I don't think I'm properly reviewing this from my own perspective without saying what the hell happened here. And no, I'm not just talking about a strong step backward, or after such an amazing record we got something that's only decent, or just leaves me scratching my head wondering what the inspiration behind it was. No, this album's a mess. In fact, that's not even the best way to sum this up quickly, because what really surprised me more than anything is that the best parallel I can draw here, not in terms of style, but in terms of a transition from the previous album, well, that would be Lord's Solar Power, where after making an absolutely spectacular pop album that transcends the top tier of that genre, the follow-up is such a huge drop in quality that I'm genuinely in disbelief. That's a bad sign that I'm making that comparison. And honestly, both this album and Solar Power both kind of have the feeling of, oh, I guess the artist just got overconfident after making such an amazing album that they gave us the most unessential album ever because by default, I guess they thought it would be great no matter what. And while that's probably not what actually happened, there's usually a lot that goes into making an album, even when said album doesn't turn out good at all. That idea I came up with feels at least more believable regarding Lord, because Melodrama got the boatloads of critical acclaim that Ancient Dreams in a Modern Land never got. And trust me, it should have. If you want to hear me talk more positively about Marina, I would love to discuss that album on this channel at some point, because it's a truly amazing pop record. But because it seems like nobody else recognized that, I'd have to think there's no way there was any sort of overconfidence here, because it wasn't all that well received. And look, this album is better than Solar Power. That album to me is a disgustingly bland and shockingly obnoxious attempt at some weird kind of irony that doesn't land any of its points, and winds up a legitimately terrible listen with so many ridiculously cringy moments and barely anything redeeming. But I'm actually not sure which one's more disappointing. Because as much as I love Melodrama and it's an amazing pop album that deserves all the acclaim it's gotten, even Melodrama doesn't hold a candle to Ancient Dreams in a Modern Land, in my opinion. And thus, I will admit that if this was any other artist and my expectations weren't quite so high for this album, well, my thoughts would simply be, well, whatever. It's not awful, I just don't give a fuck. But again, I'm genuinely shocked by how basic, uninteresting, and at times totally cringy this album is. And it almost feels to me like the epitome of the notion that pop music nowadays has nothing to offer, which isn't true, but with albums like this, I get it. So alright, I guess I'll try and talk about the actual album. This is an individual review, I guess it makes sense to go at least a little bit more in depth, right? Well, I'll try, but it's also once again not an album worth a lot of time or attention aside from the massive disappointment factor. So let me start by talking about the lyrics on this project, which really aren't particularly special if you ask me, and I had a bad feeling as soon as the opening track mentioned aura, which is a concept that I personally find funny in the right context, but it does not land here at all. And that's just the first of many moments where I'm just simply baffled by the lack of lyrical substance on this project, where we've heard these themes a billion times, even on Marina's music. And there's a feeling of faux depth disguised in attempted glamorous instrumentation. I'll explain how this fails sonically shortly. And honestly, the writing on this album feels nearly on par with Maroon 5, maybe with a bit less outright cringe, but no more interesting substance. And it's very telling that after Ancient Dreams ended with a song about finding peace within oneself after a breakup, we get multiple songs near the start of this album which feel like a sequel to that story, but without moving it forward in any way. I don't know, at least to me it feels like Marina is simply running out of ideas. Oh, and about that Maroon 5 comparison, honestly, it kind of scares me how this is basically on the same level of quality as that new Maroon 5 album. How the fuck am I saying this? And look, I get that personal freedom and accepting oneself for being authentic is a big theme of this album. But firstly, that's exactly a reason why me tearing this to shreds shouldn't be that big a deal. I should stress, I don't want Marina to see this review and be offended by it. And secondly, the writing simply isn't good. Yeah, that's as totally subjective a thing to say as anything, but to me this provides little to no interesting insight or real power to drive home these messages. Kind of ironic considering the album title. We just get so many bad rhymes, basic cliches, and seemingly forced attempts at quirkiness, and honestly, it's to the point where even the moments that might have some real cleverness or personality actually just come across as tryhard. And yeah, I hate to admit that I can fall victim to that effect because it is totally biased, but I gotta be honest here. Now, I know I'm gonna piss a lot of people off by saying this, but Marina's vocals on this album are not nearly as impressive as they were on this album's predecessor. Yeah, she's still got some good vocal abilities, including hitting some high notes with a fairly nice timbre sometimes, but not only does the vocal production not flatter her a lot of the time, but she doesn't have the personality, flair, or commanding energy that she has brought on her previous albums. And I genuinely don't know what the fuck happened. It sounds so phoned in, and I do not like it. And that's not even to mention some of the most obnoxious moments vocally, like the high notes, which feel so out of place on Butterfly, the weirdly robotic hook of Everybody Knows I'm Sad. That was actually really unfortunate, because the intro of the song was actually pretty good, and then we just get to the chorus, Everybody knows I'm sad. It's not very good. And also, there's literally the entire vocal performance of Rollercoaster, which is bad. Alright, so what about the production? Well, it often just either sounds so overly cluttered, like in Digital Fantasy or I Love You, or they just feel like they're missing a real spark, like how Adult Girl feels like a failed attempt at capturing the magic of previous mellow tracks in Marina's discography. There's the weirdly hollow soundscape of Hello Kitty, or especially the opener, which is also the title track, where it just doesn't hit, and I can't fully explain it. And pretty much anytime the strings are present on this album, they just wind up feeling awkwardly tinny and out of place. Honestly, barely anything in the production really stands out to me as all that pretty or even fitting for these songs. It's not always bad, but it certainly doesn't make this stand out. But continuing from there, the biggest problem here in my opinion, it comes in the songwriting. And I'm not even talking about the lyrics. Yeah, I already mentioned why I'm not all that gripped by the lyrics on this project, but this is pop music, It's a genre that, at least to me, is often about capturing a feeling, where the music can really bring the lyrics to life and make them hit so much harder, even if lyrically they're not the most amazing thing ever. And where the hell are the strong hooks on this album? Where are the strong build-ups that keep the tension going? Where are the moments that really knock my socks off due to pure musical beauty? They're completely absent. And honestly, the closest this gets to reaching Marina's potential as an artist is Metallic Stallion. And even that's basically just Marina making an early Lana Del Rey song, and I can't stand early Lana Del Rey. Although, because Marina's music is better produced and she's a better singer and can make a nice melody actually work as well as it should, at least some of the time, well, it leads to this actually being a pretty great song. The only one on this album. In fact, nothing else even gets close. And honestly, Marina has always made better Lana Del Rey songs than Lana herself, and this song is nowhere near the best tracks from Ancient Dreams. But even though I do really like that one song, on the flip side, there are some shockingly cringy moments, like Hello Kitty, which is just fucking embarrassing. I thought Marina would be really good at making sexually charged music, but maybe I was totally wrong, because this is hot garbage. And no, not that kind of hot. And even Hello Kitty probably isn't the worst song on this album, because Rollercoaster is just, what the actual fuck? Yeah, that impression was awful, but trust me, the song itself is actually worse than that. I am not making this up. Look, I thought I was gonna love this album. I really wanted to love this album. Again, I'm going to see her concert in less than a week, and I'm still excited, albeit a lot less than I was. I don't know, maybe some of these songs are better live, and more notably, I'm hoping she'll play some songs from her other albums. But god damn it, this album was disappointing. There's only one song worth hearing, maybe two, because CUNTISSIMO at least sort of captures some of the vibes that I've really liked about Marina's music over the years. Even though I really don't think that song is particularly good. But again, it's decent. It's better than pretty much everything else here. And regarding this album's rating, fuck, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm genuinely feeling like a strong 4, maybe a light 5. Yeah, this was not good at all. And while I don't think this is the absolute worst album I've heard all year, yeah, I don't think there's much question this will go down as the most disappointing album of 2025 for me. I'm genuinely shocked by how big a step down this is from Ancient Dreams in a Modern Land. I know I was being harsh in this review, but this should be better. But whatever, Marina seems to be doing whatever the fuck she wants, and I can't really be mad at her for that. At the end of the day, I do support artists making the art they want to make, and again, I told you at the start of this review, don't take my whining to mean more than it does, because, again, you know, Marina, if you happen to be watching this, which I know you're not, you're making the music that you want to make. I cannot disrespect that. And yeah, me being harsh in this review and tearing it to shreds like I did. Again, I just want to remind everybody, this is coming from a Marina fan who really, really wanted to love this album. And hey, if you disagree, you can let me know in the comment section down below. But yeah, to me, this was not good at all. I was genuinely shocked. I don't know how this turned out the way that it did. Again, like, this isn't meant to be mean or anything. I know I was being very harsh. I just want to make that clear. When I give this album such a heated, negative review, this album, it's not a terrible record. And even if it was a terrible record, again, that is all completely subjective, and I have nothing against Marina for making this album. If this is the music she wants to make, I've got nothing against that. It's just, for me, this was extremely disappointing. I originally thought Squid might have the most disappointing album of the year for me, because I thought it was going to be great. I was really looking forward to a new album from that band. That album still turned out pretty good, I will admit. It wasn't particularly memorable, but like, I gave that album a 7 out of 10. From the moments of it that I've revisited, I would stand by that. I thought Spirit Box might have the most disappointing album of the year. That was because I set my expectations way too high, I'll admit. Yeah, it didn't turn out as great as I was hoping it would, but I genuinely, like, I can look back at that and be like, you know what? I set my expectations too high. I shouldn't have expected it to be among the absolute top tier of albums for this year. Marina, yeah, like I don't think all of her other albums are amazing, but like just considering how fantastic this album's predecessor was, and it felt like she was going in a direction where she was moving away from the ideas that she was writing about on her early albums, which were really good too, but it just felt like she had her own identity as an artist, and I felt like there was so much more she could have done with that. And oh my god, this was a mess. But anyway, I'll leave it at that for now. Feel free to let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of this album. Hopefully I will have more mini album reviews coming up shortly. There's quite a few albums I want to review. There's multiple other individual album reviews that I want to do. And there's so many albums that I have just been planning on reviewing for so long I have not gotten around to. This was honestly one of them. I was planning on reviewing this a while ago. I just never got around to it. And yeah, wow. I'll leave it at that. Oh, I forgot to quickly mention, the reason this is getting its own individual review, I was going to make it a mini review, and then I just realized I was going to be ranting about this too much, so I'm like, you know what, may as well just make it its own video. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. Again, I feel like I'm just rambling at this point, because, yeah, I had a lot to say about this album, but again, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And feel free to let me know your thoughts on this review. Was I being too harsh? Do you think I came across as meaner than I should have been? Because, again, that was not my intent. But if you think I did, let me know. Yeah, if you have any criticism or feedback that I can take for future reviews, I'm happy to hear it. And I am working on quite a bit of stuff right now for my channel. So hopefully I can get that all published fairly soon. But I'm also going to be starting college in a couple days. So yeah, it's busy times. I'm still working a job, and yeah, I've just got a bunch of stuff going on. So yeah, fingers crossed I can get some more videos uploaded shortly, but we'll have to see. Anyway, thank you for watching. I will see you all soon.